talked to him earlier today.
Okay.
I'm sure he's coming.
Yeah. Include Ron give a bid? Oh, just 3 bids, okay. Gather information they need. Two from Muncie. You know, anything like that? Because Ron is a little concerned about making sure we do everything necessary to be done. And because he had some reservations while talking about it to him Saturday.
Well, getting it done within the
Time frame.
time.
He hasn't played anything, that's how he's out the rest of the season.
Okay, please stand for the pledge. Remain standing for the prayer, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, you are the one who made the earth and created man upon it. You stretched out the heavens with your hands, and you ordained all their host. You know it's your desire to bless, and we know that you are a generous and loving God. And we pray that the people of our community right now are asking for blessing of employment in an enriched community. Open the doors, Father, for that no man can shut, and give opportunities for the people to work and provide for their families. And Father, we bring the streams in the desert, and so that you can ask the stream of employment to flow in our community. In your name we pray, amen. Jan, would you take roll call, please?
Dan Benson. Bob Leahy.
Here.
Jim Hufford.
Here.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Chad Spence.
Here. Trustee had a chance to review the consent agenda as presented. Any changes or corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have a first, to a second.
I'll second.
All those of accepting the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Department reports. Just kind of update to everyone. We have a concert's coming up behind us here on the May 26th. It'll be back here. It'll start at 7, and they're going to have food and beer and wine. So bring the whole family and lawn chairs and blankets. So that going on. That's coming up. I think we have coming up also the registration for rental properties, and that'll be going on the back of our water and sewage bill to remind everyone to get, encourage everyone to get that. And that would be, I believe, the first part of July, I believe, is the date that we're looking at. And looks like the building at the park is pretty well complete, and you guys have been shoveling in all the lights and stuff into there, so I think that's moving very quickly there. And we got to work on our park lights for pickleball, because we have a lighting issue, but I think they got mostly corrected, and make some enhancements to that as well. So, Jan, do you have anything?
Yeah. These weren't in the packets. They're the CF1s, the compliance statements, or the tax abatements, or eco vehicle systems, and the other one's for Frank Miller. So I didn't know. I mean, we've got time. We can vote on this next council meeting if we want, or whatever you guys want to do.
Questions from council? What would you like to do? We'll hold off for next meeting? I would suggest that since nobody commented, let's just hold off for next meeting. Anything else, Jan?
Nope, that's it.
Council members. Bobby, let's start with you.
I don't have anything.
Jim?
The only thing I got is the problem with we had down there, like on Oak Street there in 1240, where somebody put all those mattresses out there on the street, and they were out there for almost a month.
No, they were out there 3 weeks.
Well, almost a month. Almost a month. It was like a 3 days there, but I picked them up.
3 weeks and 4
Are they
days.
gone now?
No,
Yes.
They were still there yesterday.
They're still there.
Yeah.
They were cleaned up today.
Yeah.
They got them on the wagon. The wagon was still sitting there.
They called us down today to inspect it.
So those
They
were
had cleaned it up.
Okay.
And they were also cited. So then that's as far as we can go with it.
good. Anything else, Jim?
That's it.
Tim?
I don't have anything.
Chad?
Oh, just a shout out, a big time thanks to all the folks that showed up a couple weeks ago, and then this past Saturday. A number of folks from, well, Jim, huge help. Monty, first day there was a huge help, and lots of guys from the EMS and just various folks that showed up to help clean out the Eagles building, and got it pretty well gutted. If you'd ever been in the Eagles building in years past and then saw pictures of it after this past weekend, you'd be a little bit surprised.
It's right, held together on the inside by nicotine.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a shell of itself now, which is what it's supposed to be. So it's ready. Bids took place, or well, the initial bid meeting took place this morning, and then bids will eventually come in, and we'll be able to get to the fun part, which will be construction. So again, just thanks, hats off to everybody, because it's just awesome when folks come together. So
And I'd imagine by us tearing that all out, probably saved him probably $30,000-$40,000.
yeah, from the volunteer labor. Oh my gosh. I don't know about saved us physically, but it saved us money.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it would save a lot of money.
Yes. Yeah, and thanks for the use of equipment. Tow motor we had this past Saturday, and we had somebody else from the church had their tow motor in there previous Saturday. So it's cool how things come together. So it's a community for you. So that's all I had.
Hey, Monty?
I just signed the initial paperwork on the USDA funding for the wastewater plant Friday. So closer than we were on that. We got a budget, and so now we're just waiting on obligation of funds from them. Get that going. But that's all I have, sir.
Okay. Ryan, we'll save you. There you are. You used to sit over here. We'll save you for old business. With that in mind, we have the folks from. Where are you from? I just had Doug, I'm going to turn it over to you if you address the council regarding our financial management report.
Yep, my name is Doug Baldessari, and this is Corby Thompson. We're with Umbon. We're here for our annual financial management report for the utilities. So once he gets those passed out, we'll go over. Good news is both your utilities are in good shape, I would say, financially. I don't know.
No, that's okay. Yeah, that was appropriate. Yeah, no, that was well placed.
Didn't need it. But since Monty brought up the sewer, maybe we'll start with the sewer first. Just in case. Do you want to turn to page 5? This is our cash balances at the end of the year, 17, and compared with what your minimum and/or recommended reserves are. And as you would expect, there has been a buildup of cash from the sewer utility with their rates implemented and the project just getting going now. But that will be good to give the city flexibility when the big project comes around, the time to get funded. When bids come in and all that, will give the nice flexibility there.
Do you ever project out when we know, when, say hypothetically, what are we about a year from when we'll have to draw down and start paying? So, I mean, if you're looking, we got $500,000 extra in there now.
Mm-hmm.
So hypothetically, we could be at $1 million, possibly.
I think we're a year out from closing on the financing.
Yeah.
But then probably another couple $100,000.
Okay.
before, and then you're only paying interest during construction.
Yeah.
So you know, 100, so maybe 400,
Okay.
depending on how expenses come in compared to the budget and revenues. So and then that would give the flexibility to either not draw down as big of a loan, or if bids come in high, which we've been seeing a lot. Hopefully it doesn't happen here. But we are waiting on that final letter of conditions, right, from RD. But I know they were feverishly working on that here a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to turn to page 7. This is a comparison of your operating receipts, your revenues, from what the budget was to the actuals. You recall there was a rate increase that was put into place for the project. Revenues did come in about $25,000 short of what we anticipated, and with a significant increase, that's not abnormal. We're seeing that all these cities and towns that we work with in Indiana, they're doing these long-term control plans and raising the rates because that's the only way they can pay for it. People to use less. I mean, they have the option to use less, and we see some rate fatigue out of that. So I think we saw some of that here. Turning to page 8 is a comparison of the actual 17 operating disbursements to what the budget was, and other disbursements. And health insurance came in lower than anticipated, but we did see some increases in materials and supplies and purchase power. But then repairs was a little lower. So overall, we're down about $23,000 compared to the budget. So that's a good thing, especially since you know you were $25,000 under on the revenues. And then we did spend a little bit less on capital improvements than anticipated. So overall, you're about $40,000 below the budget. Moving forward, we do think we did anticipate the revenue to probably stay about the same for the coming year. But on page 10, worked with Jan basically with her budget and other items. We do see an increase in the total disbursements, about $65,000 for this year, with some of that being repairs and maintenance and capital combined. It is an old system that needs to be kept up, so these are to be anticipated. So overall, 6.2% increase in the budgeted expenses. Are there any questions on that? So on page 11, we put together a forecast of the next 5 years, including this year. We assume that the revenues would stay equal if there were no other adjustments for this forecast. We assume the operating expenses would go up 3% per year from the budget. 18 assumes the budget. And that there would be a project finance maybe next year. We made that assumption anyways. We used, not knowing where RD was going to come in and how big the project was going to be, we used information from our last preliminary analysis that we did for RD. I'm sure there'll be another one coming once the letter of conditions is signed. But here we assume about a $10 million project with a $2.4 million loan, 75% grant. And you can see with the project to be financed and constructed in 19, you see the big drawdowns in 19 and 20. We didn't really anticipate full debt service till 21 and 22, but assuming the budgeted disbursements and increases of 3% per year and that size of a project, we do see the need for either reduction in some expenses or an adjustment for rates coming out in about 4 or 5 years. It's not out of the norm. Rates don't last forever, especially if your rates are level and your increases in expenses. So in order to keep the required coverage levels for your debt service and stuff, there may need to be some things, depending on how 5 years. It's hard to tell exactly what's going to happen, but based on these assumptions here, just for planning purposes. But we'll know a lot more once RD comes through and we can factor in the loans and everything else. Let's see. We had cash balances, and most of the capital improvements on page 14 is the projects that we assume for the sewage works. other than some other budgeted items. We had about 100,000 for 2018. And it's a bunch of historical information. And I will say the bonds from 2011 did finally pay off in January. So I know those have been out there a while. They're 2011 bonds. Those refunded another set of bonds that may have been refunded before.
1960.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So those are gone.
Eureka.
And on page 23, we have a rate comparison schedule. And I know it was difficult to raise those rates, but it is to a level that, will get you the maximum grant funding from RD. But you can see that, staying at that level, there are other communities that are, and there's the communities that aren't on here either, big communities too, that are higher than what you guys are right now. So you're just gonna, it's a very normal rate at this point for sewer, especially with all the improvements needed in Indiana.
Yeah, this tends, over the long run, this tends to be a pretty fluid chart, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It's a leapfrog effect.
Yeah.
Whoever raises their rates most recently will have the highest rates, and then other people leapfrog.
It's interesting to see Portland, though, as low as they are.
Mhm.
That they may have not, they may be implementing their plan, but not fully implemented from a rate standpoint, project standpoint yet.
At least we're, I would say, either we're the lowest of the high or the highest of the middle.
Yeah, or right there in the middle.
Yeah. So it's not too bad.
No. 65 is going to be a very normal rate coming up. You ready? We can move to the water. So the water doesn't have the large improvement projects that the sewer does, but there are a lot of projects for the water that need to get done. If you want to turn to page 5, we have the same minimum balance schedule that we had before. And right on, your recommended reserves are right about where they should be. And this is going to be a theme as we go through this report on capital improvements and budgeting from a cash standpoint. The water utility's done really well over the years, but there is a certain level that you have to keep your capital expenditures at to not go below your minimum thresholds. Like, you do want to have a minimum of allowance for capital improvements for what ifs in your depreciation account. You want to have your water tower painting fund, even though it seems like it's way off in the distance. When that expenditure comes, it's really expensive to get paid for yourself. So you want to have that money continue to be funded up. So you don't want to spend all your cash down now and then not be able to spend that money in the future. But right now, the balances are where they should be. We're going to turn to page 7. From a revenue standpoint, the actual revenues on the water, which I found somewhat interesting, were right about where they should be from the metered sales. Your ethanol plant receipts were up this year, so I guess they were producing some ethanol this year. So overall, your revenues on the water side were up by $19,000, which is good. I'd like to see that. Page 8 is the disbursements. Now, where the sewer was a little bit underneath, the water is actually a little bit over on the disbursements. Health insurance was lower than expected, but there was an increase in repairs and maintenance and outside services, and then the capital improvements were higher than we had budgeted. So overall, the disbursements were about $42,000 higher than what was in the budget, but still within region. As you can see, the capital improvements made up $32,000 of that. So, and those are projects that you've anticipated. We assume the revenues would stay the same moving forward, although we are going to look into the UCO that we talked about, so that could give it a little bump. On page 10, we do based on the budget, the disbursements will bump up about 20 grand. Most of that is, a reserve for health insurance. Those costs are quite unknown. So most of the increase we do see, based on the budget, is a $100,000 increase over last year. It's actual, and 90,000 that's capital improvements. There are some baseline projects and other things that you're working on. So that is part of the plan. So when we did include the 160,000 for this year was what was in the budget for those projects. So moving forward on page 11, we did work with Monty and Jan to, there's a capital improvement plan out there, but we did have to scale that back in order to keep the minimum reserve balances that we talked about before. So there's no problem financially with your water utility, it's just how much you spend on capital improvements. It's self-sufficient, you have your balances, it's just you don't want to spend too much on those capital items. So some of those would have to be deferred or projects moved around or something. But so we do see that the cash will be built. It looks like your cash is building. That's really the water tower fund increasing. Once the money's spent down a little bit this year and early next year, but we anticipate the cash to stay about the same from a cash standpoint. And on page 13,
I think the only thing that we have really in the water is, that we're looking at is what's it called for the where we can receive centralized information from the meters or from the meters. And we don't know which direction we're going to go on that, but
Is the increase in capital improvements reflecting the almost all new water meters are almost all installed? Okay.
yeah, that includes implementation of those. Trying to find capital improvements. 14? Oh, thank you. Well, let's stay on this page for a second. On 13, what I wanted to show you is the depreciation fund. We had just assumed a minimum balance of 50,000 in there. The city really determines what that needs to be, and then we had the water tower funding at its required increases each year in order to pay for the tower in 15 years. So that's how we backed into the next page what the capital improvements could be. So on page 14, we have a plan, and then we added a line in plus less amounts deferred or moved, and you can see in 19 and 20 some of the water main improvements would have to be either deferred or delayed to make the cash work out. And then there is only the one small bond issue on the water, which really isn't big at all. It's 193,000, but you got that when you got all your grant money from SRF. And then the last page, you have your rate comparison, which looks great from a comparison of water rates. And you combine the two, which I wish we would have had that here with us. But you're probably in the low end of the average. You combine the two. So, overall, from a utility rate standpoint, you're not in bad shape.
actually.
We do. You make me do math.
Yeah, because some of them must have American Water.
Mm-hmm.
Boy. Edgewood. Where's Edgewood?
It's right near Anderson.
They're the second highest on.
Yeah, they're paying a bit.
Yeah. Sewage and third highest in water.
Yeah, they have some difficulties with it.
Interesting.
How long will it take you to do the analysis of those two contracts?
Not long,
Okay.
a couple weeks.
Basically, you just take a look at our expenses and whatever else. Okay.
Now we have this information
Yeah.
together. We can do that.
Cool. Any other questions or comments from council?
So you're in good shape?
Good to go for another year?
Yep.
Need to keep reminding people to flush those toilets.
Why did that one?
That's right. All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good seeing everybody again.
Likewise. Thank you. Under whole business, Susan's not here. Do you want to speak for the chamber? Is there anything going on with the chamber that you want? Oh, there you go. Wait a minute. Why don't you both tell us all about the chamber?
I'm not on the executive board, but I'm in the know.
I give you permission.
I hereby delegate to it.
That was a Catholic thing that
Well, we
he
do
did.
want to thank the city first for all your cooperation. From the UMCA, we thank you and Monty for setting up. We had a wonderful prayer service here on the National Day of Prayer. We're still in the process of a bylaw rewrite. The executive committee will be handling that. Still in search of an executive director. Yard sale's coming up the 25th and 26th, which most people know about. And we've sent a letter out for fireworks.
Wait. Just so you let the public know, following the yard sale deal across town, the following week, we're doing the dumpsters for the citywide cleanup.
Oh,
That's a good time.
So
For anything that doesn't sell.
that's why we do that. Yeah.
good place to put mattresses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oak Street.
Yeah. And the only other thing is, we also thank you for the generous contribution on the fireworks. And we sent out a letter, 338 letters. We should have good response on raising additional funds.
We should get that information on the digital sign about accepting donations for the fireworks.
They're putting up
We're
a monitor.
the Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
We're doing a boot drive for 2 days. Not only are we looking for people to donate, but we're looking for people to volunteer to hold the boot. So if you guys know anyway, send them my way. That's just kind of how we're trying to get the funds going and finish that off there.
Do you guys have any type of scale in terms of what to be expected in terms of what you're trying to raise versus what we get back in the form of a show? Does that make sense? In other words, if we raise 5,000, we get to have 8 fireworks that go off every 4 minutes. But if we raise 10,
basically the way the contract is written, which I signed 2 weeks ago with the fireworks company that we've always used, I went with a 15-minute display. So that's roughly $7,000.
Okay.
What we're also trying to do is we're going to have some bands out there playing and a couple food trucks also.
Cool.
So, we're hoping to have a really good turnout. Hopefully we don't get rained out again like we did one year, but that's where we're at with it. And we thought about putting a marker up to show where we're at with the donations.
That'd be awesome.
But we're trying to raise it on our own just to get back into the game
Back in
again.
swing of things, yeah.
So as much support as anybody can give is helpful. But we're really excited about the opportunity this year.
Cool.
I think it's all fallen into place and it's going to work out great for us, I think.
Awesome.
Kobe, is it going to be on the 4th? Or is
No, it's going to be on the 1st.
On the 1st.
The Sunday before.
Okay. Well, that should be in competition with the ones in the area, so that'd be good.
We thought about that and also it'd be kind of hard to do something like that, pull it off the way we need to throughout the week.
Right.
So leaving it on a Sunday evening
That's a good idea.
probably wouldn't get more of a crowd and people could enjoy it a little bit longer.
Yeah, good idea. We have some factories that are shut down that week too.
Probably, I
I
can't.
thought for some reason, there were a couple in the area that were shut down.
I don't know what
technology is for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, because it might be a good opportunity for people to get out.
Sure.
Good. Cool.
Anything else from the chamber? Not Mr. Ryan Prickey.
Yes. Okay. First thing I have is
list of condemnation properties. As you can see, we have several.
So these have been submitted?
They have not been, well, of course, I didn't indicate which ones had been submitted and which
Okay.
hadn't been, but I believe a few are not, definitely not the whole thing.
Okay. Could you check on the top one?
Sure. Let me make a note of that.
Because I think they were just cited again today.
So that's the list. I got that from Vernier. And going forward, it's Dennis Schweiger, correct?
That is, thank you for reminding me. I forgot to explain to council. As of today, we made a change with putting Dennis Schweiger, since he's out and about on a daily basis, to go ahead and start with getting him sworn in as code enforcement and he's officially got started on that. So we're going to put his contact information and Brad Mink's contact information out on our water and sewage bills, and they can, and Mary Ann as well. They can call up here and put an address and maybe a description of the property and whatever else.
So Monty just informed me that 3 of these properties have already been taken care of. 355 South Columbia.
335 North Union.
Oh, I'm sorry. Boy,
It's right next to it, though.
striking out. 335 North Union. 411 North Walnut. And 1325 Turner Street, which is the very bottom of the list. Any questions on that?
Good, we're good. So then, could you just drop an email to us and tell us which ones have not been filed upon or whatever else?
Okay, and then next, I've got the contract bill of sale for the 1919 fire truck.
Oh, yes.
I believe this encompasses all the terms that Mr. Neely had discussed.
Yeah. We'll put that on, Jam, just put that on the next agenda.
Okay.
Let's see here. Okay. So just read that over, and if you have any questions, just let me know, or changes.
And you've not heard anything from the county or that transfer on 310 West Oak?
No, we submitted, I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we submitted our petition for the tax deed because all the rights of redemption periods have passed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 30 days. So I would say we're probably in the middle of that 30 days before the court will give us we're within weeks of this.
Okay.
It's 310 West Oak.
Ducky's good.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Oh, gotcha. Thank you.
As far as everything else on the list, the deed transfer of 319 West Oak to Union City Redefined, I'll get that done this week. We've already talked about the 310 West Oak, that's the former Ducky DVD, which is a tax sale property. We should be getting that tax deed we're within weeks of getting it, so. The Midwest TV and the public access TV ordinance, that's something that we still need to get together with.
Brian, can you get with Linda and
Looking to have a meeting this week sometime.
okay?
And then that just leaves the building agreement with Community Christmas, which you already have from last time, so.
Yeah.
Didn't, you said Anita said that there was changes to?
Yeah, I saw Anita at Rotary last week, and she mentioned that Larry had looked over, said there were a few changes, and I said, well, give me a call, have him give me a call, and I've not heard from him yet.
Okay.
So if he wants to give me a call, or he wants to talk to someone here, and then just let me know,
Okay.
I can make the changes.
Yeah, he mentioned something to me about it, it wasn't specific on
Yeah.
what it was.
Didn't see what the changes was on.
No, the only thing, he said something, he mentioned something about insurance, but I'm not sure what the.
I think that's what she
where-
mentioned to me too, something about insurance, but she wasn't specific.
What the,
Falls under our umbrella.
yeah, and the only thing, because the only value in that
I
is
think
about.
maybe that I put in there that they were covered.
Yeah.
Well,
Is that right?
yeah, you had, there's a mention of liability insurance, but covering, but I'm not, or, I know.
Coverage of the contents, was it not?
Coverage of contents.
Yeah, and we talked about that, you know, for the budget we have to work on, just wouldn't be wouldn't be feasible.
Right.
And I'm not sure that you'd have a good, that would be a good fit to try to insure, because,
The building's metal and
well, or I suppose for the building, but for the contents or for the only way you'd have anything is if it burned down, that you would be able to make a claim. Otherwise, you're insured, to insure the materials for the use otherwise would not be practical.
we'll get that to you.
All right, that's all I have.
Okay.
Hard for you to keep a concise inventory.
And actually, we're waiting on the memorandum of agreement, get that, and also the lease agreement, actually both of them together. We just, at the next meeting, we'll have that information for everybody so we can fully execute that. So the next two items in old business, we'll just carry that over. And then, under new business, water contract in Union City, Ohio, Umball will be going through the old contract and comparing it to where we're at and where any changes that would be made, and make those recommendations to us for that. So that's will be on the next. Then the next council meeting. Jan, what got any ideas in mind?
I guess Tuesday, just like.
Tuesday?
Oh, yeah, because it was the Memorial Day.
I'm good with that. You guys?
Okay.
So the next council meeting will be Tuesday following Memorial Day.
Should be May 29th. Is that when the Board of Works meeting is scheduled as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And to just keep in mind the water contracts that we have with the UCO, those are on 5-year agreements. So we'll make those changes in that. And the next thing is visitors wishing to address the board. Anyone? Oh, okay. We'll move on to that. Kobe.
Yes.
We need to discuss the SRO opportunity at Grand Houston School Corporation.
About, 3 years ago, maybe 4, we entered into a partnership with the school where we placed an SRO, which is a school resource officer, first one in the county. So, which spawned other schools to get some. But anyways, in doing so, what we did is place one of our 8 full-time officers out there full-time. Now we're at a point where the school has applied for a grant, or is going to apply for a grant to, where the government would pay for half of a school resource officer, and then they would pay for the other half. Without getting into too much particulars this evening, the grant calls for a full-time officer, which means they have to be a graduate of the ILEA and sponsored through police department. In continuing that great partnership that we've had with the school, because as you know, several things have spawned from that, i.e. the criminal justice class, and then with that, the fire class and stuff like that. We want to continue to have a partnership, but I'd also kind of like to have my officer back. So what I did is I had a couple meetings with Lisa Smith, who's the superintendent of the schools out there. And again, this isn't written in stone, it's just something I want to bring before you guys so you can discuss it and possibly have a vote on it in the future, or whatever you guys decide to do. What we decided was that they would get the grant, and the monies are average, I think it's $60,000 roughly. So $30,000 would be their part. What I offered was half of that at 15. I think it comes out to 15.5 if you look at the figures just right. With that being said, they would have that officer 180 days, no ifs, ands, or buts. They would never come out of the school. And then in the summertime, we would get that officer to utilize either for our overtime, or we could place them in an ordinance position or something like that. It sounds like it's a 9th officer position, but technically it is not. There's no way, in no way, shape, or form are we asking for a 9th officer position. This is a partnership with the school, and we believe in staying with that partnership, we could both utilize that officer. So what I'm throwing out today is that you take into consideration the 15.5 and sticking with that partnership that we've had. So I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. The meeting was last week, and it all just came up for me last week that they was actually applying for the grant. We've actually wanted them to push for that opportunity, but we didn't push them into it. It actually comes at a good opportunity for us. It's kind of hard to find reserves officers these days and stuff like that. So having Bill back, we're actually going to switch to 8-hour shifts. That puts him on the road and working every other weekend. So it's really going to be helpful on us, on our end, and it'll be helpful on their end. So, any questions or concerns or?
Now, if the money dries up from the federal government, then what happens with the officer?
Okay, that's where we would have to enter into a contractual agreement with that officer, whoever it may be, and they just have to understand that that's what it is. And every year that they have to reapply. I don't want to use the term reapply because they're not. They apply for it the first time, and as long as they keep going with the program, the government usually renews that. I can't speak for them every time, but it's usually just you re-sign every year.
Yeah.
So it would be a year-by-year contract.
But by him, now, would we pick up the expense of sending him to school?
Yes, but that's a very low expense.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, though, but that would give him the opportunity to go any place he wants to.
He would have a bunch of opportunities,
Right.
especially as an ILEA graduate.
Yeah.
The other schooling that he has to go to is the School Resource Officer Program, which generally is a 2-week program with ongoing continuing education. So even if, for some reason, and we did talk about this in our meetings, say the city didn't want to do it anymore, what would they be stuck with? If they didn't want to do it anymore, what would we be stuck with? And as you know, right now, we have an MOU with them anyway, with the SRO, and we would continue to rewrite another MOU and a contract on how we want to work everything out. I think it's a great opportunity, and that we should stay involved and as a partnership.
They would be actually an employee of the school, way it's reading.
Yes. Yep.
So if the money would not be there and it's back on the school.
Correct.
What, and this may be a question you can't rattle off the top of your head, what's your overtime expenditures like through the year?
I don't have an exact figure, but
just
being able to go to 8-hour shifts is going to decrease that exponentially.
that's what I could see that.
The issue is that, it's hard, like I said, it's hard to find, we got 2 reserves. We have in our city ordinance that we can have up to 11. We've never even been close to that.
Yeah.
And as you know, folks, these reserves don't get paid. They get a clothing allowance, and then they come in and work. They're required to work 2 shifts a month. So you find somebody that has a decent full-time 40-hour-a-week job, it's hard to get them in. So, you know, and a lot of times too, when we do find those good ones, they end up getting hired full-time somewhere else.
Well,
if not with us.
That's one of their one of the primary motivators to.
And the reserves are who we rely on to cut down that overtime.
Right.
And at 12-hour shifts, it's hard to find somebody to come in and work 12 hours on a Saturday when they put in 40+ hours in a week
And not get paid.
and not get paid.
So with getting Bill back, it would cut down probably about, it won't become a wash between the cost of the SRO officer.
Actually, without crunching numbers, I think you save money, but I don't want to promise that.
But
I don't want to.
But it's a positive thing.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I was looking at, is that we could have a real positive movement with that, gain coverage
Yes.
without.
And it takes some of the pressure off some of the guys. We've got some guys on the department that are military that do the 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. In fact, we have 2 guys that do that. So who takes their spot for 12-hour shifts. And plus their own shifts, that's a lot of overtime. The 8-hour shifts, we're going to be able to more easily alleviate those stresses.
Those guard summer camps tend to be in the summer, as they're referred to. That's, I grew up with that.
And I'm not going to say we struggle with Bill being out there, because we don't. We make it work, but it'd be a lot less stress on me. I'm not going to lie, if we have him back, because not only is he working the road, he's helping me, with the managerial aspect of the job.
Yeah.
So.
Well, your partnership, it's sad that we live in a world nowadays where something like that is essential, but your partnership with the school has been exemplary, and it's been amazing, and it's been something that I think a lot of other communities could benefit from in terms of trying to model.
Well, Union City's been a leader in that aspect, and I'm not doing it just to brag and toot my own horn, but when we put Bill out there, the other schools started looking, well, how'd you do that? In fact, I get phone calls all the time, how are you doing that? And then, the explanation comes, and next thing you know, they got one. And it started out in Winchester, they ended up with a part-time. Then Monroe Central actually went through the grant process and got a full-time SRO. And it also kind of helped kick off all these vocational classes with the criminal justice program when we first did that pilot. And then the next year it was in full swing, and next year the numbers are looking really good as far as student enrollment.
Awesome.
So we're
Now, the person, if we do this, and the person that you get for this, will he continue these programs out there? Will he be?
We will. Bill will still teach that class,
Bill will still,
because there was some extra training and stuff that he had to go through in order to get a teacher's. Gosh, I don't know all the terminology.
Workplace specialist.
Workplace specialist. He went through a year's worth of training.
Okay.
To get
That's what I was wondering. That would continue.
But he absolutely could be a part of that program and start to get involved as the years go by.
Yeah.
But with Bill's involvement, there's two things that I see there with Bill's involvement still teaching at this point initially, and with the flexibility you gain, now you have the potential that there's an extra officer in the school as opposed to where we're at now.
There will never be a day an officer won't be in school when the school's open.
Right.
Because Bill's not going to lose any of his accreditations that he's earned in that position.
So you have times where you're going to have 2 officers in the school, and plus you're going to also have the situation where if there's special circumstances, whether it's just just atmosphere, something going on, the tension in the community and the world in general,
correct,
where you feel the need to have an extra officer, you're not pulling an officer so much you're not depleting your officers so much on the street to have an extra officer at the school for time. So.
And all of this, and I'll give Monty tons of credit, because back when he was chief, he's actually the one that got the ball rolling on this whole school program, everywhere from the crossing guards and keeping stuff like that going, and that's what we've always tried to follow. So You know, that I hate to lose a partnership over, you know, monies when it's been so great. Because what'll happen is, in order for her to get a full-time officer inside those schools, it has to be an ILE graduate. You know, you're not going to find a young guy off the street that's going to want to work for what they're offering for 180 days, so you're going to find a retired officer, he's on retirement at our school, our community.
Right, yeah.
Plus, it's our back door. We should have that involved.
Right.
The grant itself says that, you know, you need to have a great partnership with your school. And why not continue?
And we need a motion then? Or is that we looking for a motion?
Not yet.
Consensus.
I don't know that there's a vote to be taken yet or motion. What's going to happen is that like I said, I've been meeting well with Ms. Smith. She's going to write out the MOU and stuff like that. I just need the blessing to go forward. So I don't know if that takes a vote.
There's a consensus. Yeah.
Or what happens. So.
I would like to hear a motion made in regard to consensus for support of this.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I move that we, as a council, lend our support to this endeavor which you just presented and to see that it comes to fruition.
I'll second the motion.
Jan, would you take roll call vote for that?
Bob Leahy?
Yes.
Jim Hufford?
Yes.
Tim Heiss?
Yes.
Chad Spence?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Chief.
One thing that I failed to mention at the beginning of the meeting, about 6 years ago, I met with East Central Indiana Small Business. It's a development center down in Richmond. They have their main office, and for our part of the state is from Muncie. And started working with them. They actually, and the reason I bring this up is for the public to know that what's out there for your resources. And they supported myself and David Zimmers for our developing our business, and to the point where we actually just last 2 weeks ago we got recognized by the state for our efforts and the impact for what we do for in healthcare. And but you also have Randolph County Economic Development that helped us as well, and you know, all too often, you know, people ask, "Oh, I'd like to do something, but you know, I don't know where to turn." And so I just want to throw a shout out to really the guy's named Scott Underwood. He's based out of Richmond, and I still talk to him probably, you know, once a quarter about what goes on and whatever else, but helped on business your business plan development, you know, financing and different options that are out there as well. So just wanted to kind of, you know, really let the public know that the resources are out there, and they're looking for people to help. So I wanted to just as well. So we're to the point. Anyone wishing to speak to address the council?
Mayor, do you want me to say anything about a KISS update or anything? Kind of coincides with what
Sure.
Chief said.
Yep.
Walk out again. Obviously, folks, you guys know that I've been coming back to revive the KISS program. It's interesting to hear Chief Wells, because hopefully we can continue to work together to document that from a standpoint to let other people know what we're doing. When I came on board, KISS was kind of in limbo, and we had 30 kids this year, but I just wanted to be pleased to address the council to know that they put the program into a full program next year, which is going to be good and bad. It's going to be a lot of work, but I figured we'd be up around 40 kids next year, but the enrollment is 81 kids next year. 81. And that's not counting kids that I hear coming from Winchester. You know, I want to open up this program to Seminole Valley, anybody in Randolph County that wants the opportunity to learn about, you know, the media and everything like that. I like what Chief Wells, you know, Union City can be known as the good development program for the fire and police department. Something for media, we can work together. I'm anxious to work with Chief to just kind of document anybody that sees what we're doing here, what kind of process is involved. They can click on a link and we'll have that, but I'll have the kids to be able to do that, and that's why I'm very pleased when you have that many kids. Then it gives me a lot more avenues to do a lot more things separately in different groups of things. So I can't thank the council and the folks in Union City enough for the support, but I was expecting 45 or 50, but 81 just kind of blows me away, which is impressive. Now, we got a couple kids that are going to be executive core group. They're going to take a couple classes. So that number of 81, probably about 75, because we got a couple kids taking more than one class in a day, but I did count them anyway. And that'll be a core group of folks that already been through the program that'll be a little bit more responsible for some other duties of other students. So again, I'm just excited. It's going to be a long, crazy year next year, but we got a full period. It's nice to have 81 kids to start it next year, and that number is probably likely going to decline because there's to climb because probably anywhere from 10 to 12 kids have told me after the fact that they're trying to get in. Awesome. So I think that's awesome, and thank you for all the support in the community and the folks. And again, we're going to run next year. It got to crawl before you walk, but we're going to run next year. I'm very excited about that. And probably another, but I just wanted to mention that was very good news to get put into a full program. But again, 81 kids is just astronomically cool. But thank you.
So along with the KISS program, Kobe, we probably got another 25 or 30 that's in the police, fire, and EMS, roughly?
My understanding was 18 or better for next year.
For police.
That was just police.
Yeah.
Haven't heard about the fire
Okay.
yet. And they're just ending their semester, so looking good.
All right. Well, see, we have another person that just walked in. We're just at the place. Visitors wishing to address the council.
Yes, I sure do.
State your...
My name is Beth Colvin. I live at 321 West Oak, Apartment 1 here in Union City. And a week ago this past Friday night, somebody on purpose put a big dent inside of my new SUV.
Oh.
Now, 2 years ago, my car got egged. I was told that's just kids having fun. Well, let me tell you something. This ain't kids having fun. The kids run the streets at 2 and 3:30 in the morning on school nights. They're in my alley. There's a basketball court over here across from the city council or the city head or the head place. I don't care if they play up there. That's fine. But I do nothing to nobody. I stay in my own apartment. I don't bother nobody. It took me 10 years to save up for that SUV. I'm not paying for the damage, and my insurance ain't paying for it. I want the people found. This is ridiculous. 2 cars damaged. And like I say, the cops told me the first time, that's kids having fun. Well, this ain't kids having fun. This is damage. There's $500 worth of damage out there on an SUV. And I want you guys to come out and look at it after the meeting, please, because it wouldn't come out. It wasn't a basketball. So it had to be a baseball bat. It had to be a hammer or something of that sort. Now, I worked hard to get that car. Very hard. I don't get anything handed to me. I have to pay for it. Now, somebody's going to pay for it, but like I said, it ain't going to be me, and it ain't going to be my insurance company. We need to get these kids off the streets. There are curfews. I know there are. And don't tell me, I don't care if it's summer or not. They shouldn't be out on the streets at 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning damaging cars. That is just, that's, what's it called? I'm trying to think of that word.
Irresponsible.
Vandalism?
Vandalism. Bingo. And it was vandalism when they did the egging too, but the cop that came down there said that was kids having fun. Well, it took the paint off my car. So I hope they had fun doing it and wasting the food at the same time. But this has gone too far. This is it. This is where I draw the line. I'm not going to put up with it. I will not. I'm a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, and I expect the police to do their job and get these kids off the streets. Like I said, I don't care if they go there and play basketball. That's fine. But stay away from my car.
Can you identify the kids that...
I saw the back of their heads. They were dark-haired, and a girl at work today told me it was Matt. She thought it might be Matt.
Don't mention
say
names.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
But she said the kids, there's 2 kids over here, and she thinks it might be them because they have dark hair. That's all I could see with their hair because they knew what they had done. If they had come to my house and told me about it, I wouldn't be here. But you know they did it on purpose because when they heard me come to the door, we heard the noise. We heard them hit it. And when I got to the door, they were taking off, and all I could see was the back of their heads. I was trying, because they were running away from it. But this has gone too far now. This is it. I'm not gonna take it because I paid too much money for that car, and now they have to drill a hole. They got to drill a hole in the car now to pull it out, and then repaint and everything else. So we're talking some major money. Now get the kids off the streets because this is ridiculous. That wasn't handed to me. I had to pay for it, and I'm still paying for it. So this is just ridiculous. We gotta find something for the kids to do. And if the parents don't want to take responsibility for their kids, let the parents sit in jail for this. Because I'm tired of it. I don't know where I'm not, like I said, I'm not paying for it. Neither's my insurance company. I told them, I said, you're not paying for it. I said, I've got full coverage, but you know what? You ain't paying for it because look, the idiots that did it should have to pay. If I did that and got caught, I'd get in trouble. But you know, I'm tired of it. I work hard for my stuff. I just got off a 10-hour shift. And I know I look terrible, but I have to work 10 hours a day to pay for what I want and what I need. And I want somebody to pay for it, but it sure ain't gonna be me, it ain't gonna be my insurance company. I don't, like I say, the kids had dark hair, that's all I can tell the police officer. I did have a police report made, he took pictures, and we discussed it. And he said he would keep his eye out. I said, whenever you see kids over there playing basketball, ask them if they know anybody that did it. If they hear somebody bragging about it, I wanna know about it, because I will turn them in. Because I'm not paying for it and the insurance ain't, so. But I want that fixed before winter, because that'll rust out and everything else, because that's a deep one. They tried to pull it out down here at Keene's and they couldn't do it. They said it wasn't a basketball because it's too deep. Okay. So we definitely need to get these kids off the streets at night. I don't care if it's summer or what it is. They don't need to be out at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, because that's the only thing that happens at them. But they did it in broad daylight. It was at 5:45 that afternoon. I couldn't believe it. They did it in broad daylight. Yeah, so these kids need to be reprimanded. Somebody needs to do something, because I'm not going to put up with it. I won't. But I'm not moving either, so we just need to get the kids under control or call the parents or something, do something. Because
I assume you've given a description of what you described, the back of the heads, and yeah, I know they'll be on it, because we had some vandalism a few years back at Community Christmas. We actually had Christmas stuff that was stolen, of all things.
Yeah, but this is ridiculous.
Oh, I agree, but they were all over it, and they caught the people that were responsible for it with the extension cords and the various things that we robbed from and taken from. And so, but it just goes as a reminder, it's unfortunately we can't control the actions or the poor decisions of people, but we can definitely, when there's been a wrong that's been committed, we can hopefully bring justice to the situation. So
right, yeah, that's what I want, justice.
They've demonstrated that. So
yeah, if anybody, like I told the boys over there playing, if you know who did it or you hear them bragging about it, come to me, because I will turn them in, and their parents will pay for that, because I'm not in my insurance, because that'll make my insurance go up, and everybody else's too.
Right.
So see, we got to get a handle on these kids, because the parents don't seem to care. They just let them run loose. They're at work or whatever. Well, so what? Get grandma or grandpa or somebody to watch them, because, like I say, after the meeting, I'd really like for you guys to take a look at that. Okay. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Okay, day of the next council meeting, which we said to be determined, will be Tuesday following Memorial Day. And we'll always be same thing. I'd entertain a motion for adjournment. Right. First and second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You adjourn.